One thing I think we need to stress is that China doesn't provide a clear definition of what it counts as aid, but we do know that it doesn't compare directly with Western aid, or DAC aid. And one clear example is that in its figures it does not include debt relief in what it counts as aid, whereas Western traditional donors do. According to its white paper, China regularly provides aid to 123 countries, which is quite a lot. About 45% goes to the African region, 33% to Asia, less 13% to Latin America and the Caribbean, and 4% to Oceania. But China does not report or publish country-level data. 2/3 of its aid is provided to what it classifies as least developed and other low-income countries. And we're not sure if this is directly comparable to the definitions that the UN uses for least developed countries, but it would be fairly similar. China provides aid in 3 main forms: grants and interest-free loans, and concessional loans, which were added in 1995. And I would like to come back to this concessional loan program later if we have time, because there's some really interesting dynamics there, but this is where a lot of the confusion about Chinese aid figures comes about.
Aid could actually help open the door to China's economic investment, to help promote trade, and to gain access to natural resources. So that's why many of China's aids are part of the trade deals, trade agreement, and debt relief. And also the aid it's provided to other countries could promote China's peaceful image, so could help reassure neighboring countries and other countries that China is here to basically to adopt a win-win situation. It is not to attach conditions and to interfere into other countries' internal affairs.
Non-DAC donors, like China and India, have not bought into the Paris Declaration commitments and are not keen to participate in the process or to be bound by what they see as Western-imposed frameworks. They're not interested also to join the DAC. But Busan was significant because it ushered in a new global compact for development effectiveness with a new and different set of principles. China, apparently after long hours of diplomacy and negotiating, signed the Busan outcome document, as did other emerging donors. I think I'll leave it there.
Paul, I wonder, just to broaden it out a bit, I mean, just how much of a problem and a conundrum for Australian policymakers is actually this definitional question? And and how rapidly is that? How rapidly is our conception of aid changing?
I don't know. They have a simple
I didn't mean it to be that curly.
I think the simple answer is that the Chinese have the Chinese conception of how aid fits into their broader foreign policy interests and the suite of tools that they use to advance their interests and to make foreign policy decisions, government decisions, is a much more integrated and complex way of thinking about it than we have. So in a sense, we have an aid program which is quite separate, quite discrete. We pretend that we can generate particular results from particular investments, and not taking into account all of the other things that actually go on to bring about any change in any particular developing country. So from that perspective, that's a lot more sophisticated in their understanding of how change might occur than we have. So in one sense, the definitions don't matter because it's actually what's going on that really matters. You know, what's going on in trade and investment and international politics. That's what really generates change and addresses poverty. What we do in the isolated part of our aid program over here is only one little tiny thing. So for me, I don't think it's a major fundamental problem. But for the implications of Busan is that all of that DAC donors need to open their minds and open the suite of toolboxes that they use in the way they conceptualise about how to bring about change and address poverty, not least including how to address poverty in middle-income countries. Because rapidly, what will happen is that the greatest amount of poverty we have in Asia is in India, and we're phasing out the aid program to India, and the Indian government is not addressing that particularly well once it's reached a certain standard of economic development. Similarly in Sri Lanka and similarly in China as well. Quite quickly, the paradigm of investment for growth, for economic development that will trickle down, you reach a limit to actually being able to address poverty. And for our aid program, I think one of the big challenges of the future is how we work with other countries to address their internal domestic issues without necessarily giving aid, just as we face the massive challenge of addressing poverty in our own country and with Indigenous peoples. So I think there's, it flows on.